Day 1 of anything looks almost identical to skipping it entirely. Day 200 does not. Somewhere in between, something changes completely. Let's close out this season with what that actually is. Taken on its own, a single day rarely matters much. Skip one workout, one study session, one entry, and almost nothing about your life is meaningfully different tomorrow. That's exactly why single days are so easy to skip. The immediate cost genuinely is close to zero, every single time you're deciding whether to show up. This is true early on in almost any pursuit, which is exactly why so many attempts quietly die in the first few weeks. There's no accumulated weight yet to make skipping feel costly, so the decision to skip is made purely on how the day feels in the moment, and most days, especially early ones, just don't feel especially important on their own. Nothing about day 3 or day 12 provides much resistance to stopping. What changes the calculation isn't the day itself, it's the streak sitting behind it. Once there's a visible run of consecutive days built up, skipping one is no longer just skipping a single day in isolation. It's risking the entire accumulated streak, which reframes a nearly costless decision into one that suddenly feels expensive. And that reframing is what actually protects consistency long after the original motivation for starting has faded. This is why deliberately naming and tracking a streak, even informally, changes behavior more than it might seem like it should. The streak converts an abstract idea, "I've been doing this for a while," into a concrete number that grows every day and can be lost in a single decision. That concreteness is what gives it emotional weight. A vague sense of progress rarely stops anyone from skipping a day. A visible, countable streak frequently does. Someone with no streak built up has nothing at stake in any single day's decision. So the pull towards skipping wins constantly, with no downside ever visible in the moment. Someone who has protected a real streak for weeks or months feels the weight of that accumulated effort every time skipping is on the table. And that felt weight is often the entire difference between a habit that survives a hard week and one that quietly doesn't. Watch what happens to both people during the exact same rough week. Poor sleep, high stress, a schedule that's fallen apart. The person with nothing built up skips without much internal resistance, because there's genuinely nothing pulling them back toward the habit besides the original intention, which has already weakened. The person with a real streak feels a specific, concrete reluctance to lose something they've spent weeks building. And that reluctance alone is often enough to get them through a week that would have ended the other person's habit entirely. First, once you've built a few weeks of consistency, name it and track it visibly, so the streak itself becomes a real, felt thing worth protecting. Second, on the hardest days, lower the bar to the smallest version that still keeps the streak alive, rather than breaking it entirely. Third, remember that the goal was never any single day. It was always the streak those days were quietly building. For the second tip specifically, decide in advance what the smallest version of the habit looks like. The 1-minute workout, the single sentence written, the 2-minute version covered back in an earlier episode, and give yourself explicit permission to use it on the hardest days without guilt. Protecting the streak with a minimal effort is categorically better than breaking it entirely, because an unbroken streak, even a thin one, keeps all its accumulated weight intact for tomorrow. This closes Season 2 of Discipline Explained. Perfectionism, habit stacking, sunk cost, never missing twice, the planning fallacy, public commitment, the novelty trap, boredom tolerance, decision fatigue, and now, the streak effect. Protect what you've built. Thanks for watching all the way through.